was really rough because a lot of people were feeling that this was their year, you know?
It was
Um,
supposed to be. Okay.
hello.
Episode 2.
Welcome, guys.
Welcome. Hopefully, welcome back. This
Yes.
is episode 2, so if you haven't checked out episode 1 yet, you can definitely go do that. It's on gender identity, sexuality, and romantic identity as well, and we talk about, like, setting boundaries and how it can work during the holidays. So it was a really good productive episode. I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it already.
Yes, absolutely.
Um
And also you get to learn a little bit more about us. So if you want to hear some tea, go on back
Yeah, you
there.
totally should. So, if for whatever reason, this is your first episode and you decide to stick with this episode, my name is Casey. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm 22.
And my name is Rose. I am 21 and my pronouns are she, her as well.
So, again, if this is your first episode, welcome to Let's Talk About Anything, LTAA.
Yes.
We're basically just talking about anything, things that are just kind of maybe as we're getting older, weird to like talk to your friends about in person, things that are taboo, things that people have asked us to talk about, because they feel like it's not talked about enough. A lot of
Yes.
different things. We did discuss it in more detail in the last episode. So if you want to know a little bit more about what we're about, go check out last episode for an explanation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And today we have a very fun topic.
Yes. Oh,
Um,
but before we get to the topic, I did want to say one more thing about the audio quality before we get
yeah.
started. So this is not our ideal recording situation, but we really were so excited to get these episodes out. We were supposed to record in person, but 2020 has been a wild year. So we're actually recording online via Discord, which actually seems to be working pretty well. We're pleasantly surprised with it. Um,
Absolutely.
but, I'm normally, like, in my apartment with, like, my soundproofing and stuff, and I'm actually home for the holidays so that I can quarantine with them, but I am in my family home, and everyone is home, and it's, like, almost around dinner time, so if you hear any background noises, I apologize for that. Um, and Rose and
Yes,
I.
but hopefully soon. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I was gonna say the same thing as you were. You could go for it,
Okay.
actually.
Yes. Hopefully soon we will both be officially quarantined long enough so that we can safely produce in the way and quality that we want. Um but
Right.
hang in. We like I said last
Mhm.
time, we will be doing our glow up
Oh, for
and
sure. We have
we will be
plans for the
all in.
future.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
speaking of plans and goals,
Yes.
today we will be talking a little bit about goals and expectations for this upcoming year after this pretty chaotic year called 2020.
Oh, yes.
Um yeah, so how are you feeling about that, Casey?
Well, I have a lot of hopes for it. I don't think it's going to be the way that a lot of people want it to be. Like here in the US it has been total shit show. It's been really not great in
Yeah.
terms of like following just like basic health procedures and rules. Like I don't understand, but I'd like to be optimistic and say that things might get a little better, and they might. Um, but it's not like going to match my ideal, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I agree
how
with
are
that
you feeling?
completely. I I think I am at the state where I feel very optimistic, but also am weary,
Mhm.
with everything that has happened this year. I think it's low-key giving us all trust issues, to say the
Yes.
least. So hopefully, I feel like I'm very ready for whatever is to come, but
Mhm.
I am not setting um myself up for failure at the same time. I'm trying to be very realistic, um and also taking it day by day, minute by minute, however I need, And
Right,
I feel
for
like that's
sure.
how everyone is feeling right now, or is getting to that conclusion that you got to really take your time
Take
with
it.
it.
Right.
Take
For
everything,
sure.
uh, with a grain of salt.
Yes. So before we talk about like our goals for the future and what we are actually planning for 2021, why don't we talk a little bit about how 2020 has been for us so far? Because at the time that this episode's going to come out, it will be in the new year. So I
Yes,
would like to
yes.
reflect on 2020 for a little bit.
Oh, goodness. So where do we even begin? Yeah, I think, 2020 has been filled with, a lot, to say the
Mhm.
least. I think it was really rough because a lot of people were feeling that this was their year,
It was
Um,
supposed to be.
yeah, everyone really started off good, like we really were trying.
Right, we are starting off a new decade.
Yes, yes, and a whole new decade. So I feel like it was really rough for a lot of people to transition to realizing that we a lot had to change before we were gonna get to that point. And ultimately not really getting to that point, because we're still
We're
where we are
still
now.
here. Right, and if you look at,
Yes.
like, New Zealand and, like, Australia, like,
Oh my
granted, they're
gosh.
on islands, so it's a little
Yes.
easier
Yes.
for them,
Yes.
and they have both places have a smaller population than the US, but, like, I wish we could be them.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
Um,
2020 has been, for me I've been really fortunate, honestly, about everything that's going on in 2020,
yeah.
I have I've been unemployed, like, with my regular job since, like, March. I work in a daycare, between semesters at school,
Mm,
and that has been discontinued. They are open again, but, the semester just ended, so I've been at school. But I
mhm.
have been fortunate to have at least, like, a tiny income, enough that gets my rent paid and my groceries, bought through, the campus library, which has
Yes.
been nice. So I've been fortunate, like, I've had a place to live and I've had food to eat, but it has been a real strain on the mental health.
Yes. I agree completely. Um, for me, it was I was finally feeling like everything was coming together, and I was mentally and physically ready for what was to come, like I was ready to get back into things that I had to kind of take a step back from, and things like that. So I was finally at the point where I was like, okay, not even like new year, new me, but I was just ready. Um, and then everything kind of came crashing down. And all of those things that I was ready for were not really available to even think about because they were gone within a second,
Right? Yeah.
but yeah, I'm also very, very fortunate, that my family and friends are all safe. They
Mhm.
are all healthy. Um, but that being said, that does not make it much easier.
Right.
um,
I
because you
actually
still have
saw a
to
post,
push
like,
through.
yeah, I saw a post on Instagram, I guess it was, where it was like, um, we're not all in the same. boat, but we all are in the same storm. So, like, although like you and I have been very fortunate, it is still the storm, and it is still hard
Yes.
to deal with in a way. So 2020 has been a whole lot,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
it's building character for sure. I have been learning a lot about myself and how I'm going to be as an adult, like a true adult
I
coming
agree.
up.
I agree. Yeah, I agree
Um,
completely. I feel like it's one of those things where we didn't have a choice. We had to either okay, it was either okay, let's drown in everything that's happening in life and society and relationships with people, or let's take the bad and flip this into a learning experience to help myself grow, and the people around me grow.
right.
And
And
that I can say I'm very fortunate for as well.
oh, for sure. And it has been tough, like not only with COVID, but all of the like racial tension within the country right now.
Mhm.
Not that it wasn't there before, but like this year has been like atrocious. It's been so bad.
Yeah.
But like it's been hard because like, with both of those things combined, it's like, oh, well, oops, my aunt is going out on her you know, her dates with all her, like, old friends and,
Mhm.
she's going out to eat at restaurants and, oh, oops, she's also racist. Like, you have to be, like,
Yeah.
cutting out a lot of people that you thought you could trust in your life, which has
Yes.
also been really bad for, like, the mental health aspect of it because you're already so isolated and you're making your group smaller.
Yes, it feels it, and not to get too in depth because I absolutely could. But I feel as though like that feeling with all that has come up, whether it's um, racial or if it's political or if it's simply how cautious someone is towards the pandemic. All of those things, when your morals are opposite to those around you, it feels like betrayal. It's just like it's one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh, like I've had so many people come out of the woodworks that I never thought they would. Which is definitely hard. It's hard to face, but it's one of those things that you do need to turn into a positive, and I'm there very thankful to have been exposed to the things I have, to make life decisions on who should be kept around and who really didn't deserve my time anymore, you know?
Absolutely true, like, on the opposite side of, like, the same coin, I've been, approached by some people that, like, maybe, like so Rose and I went to the same high school, so, like, I've been approached by so many people that, like, still follow me on social media from high school that I, like, never thought we were, like, friends like that, and we've become so close over, like, my postings about, like, my personal opinions on a lot of things, and I've
Yeah.
made a lot of new friends, so on the same side, like, it hurts to, like, drop some people you think you would have kept around. I've made a lot of newer, better connections at the same time.
I agree completely, and it also gave me a lot of reassurance meeting these people by using my voice the way that I've always wanted to, and having a purpose to use it, like
Yes.
finally feeling that I didn't have to, like, I could stand up, just having that feeling that, okay, I can, like, I feel like I lacked the courage to say what I wanted to say for so long. And after everything that has happened, I feel like that's opened so many doors, not only for like my own self-growth and everything, but also for, like you said, other people, and seeing, okay, well, I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who feels this passionately about this and wants to make a difference, and um just knowing that there's other people that will go to the lengths that you will as well, you know?
And I think I feel the same way. I don't remember ever being confident enough to use my voice so much as I have this year, and,
Yeah.
that kinda goes hand in hand with actually starting this podcast.
Mhm.
Um, I've
Yeah.
been using my voice so much on social media, and I've been getting such a positive, well, mainly positive, not all positive, but
Yeah.
mainly positive feedback from people that I didn't think were even listening to me to begin with,
Yeah.
and, I was like, when I approached you, Rose, about making this podcast, like, I mean, we still are on the same wavelength about using our voice to talk about things like this.
Yes. Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
given me the power to feel, like, really comfortable, like, "Oh, I do have things to say, and things like, people are listening to the things I have to say, and, sometimes I'm right, like, goddamn."
Yeah, right?
Sometimes I am right. That's pretty
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Um
Yes.
but I think that actually works well into our next bullet point on our list, which is like, what are your goals for the new year? One of my goals was starting this podcast, so check
Yes.
that off the list.
Period. Yeah, as well, I really, one of my big goals was to really, um, nurture and care for the relationships that meant the most to me. Um, you absolutely
Aw.
included. Because, I think if anything, 2020 has taught me that, um, the shit just doesn't matter sometimes, you know?
Yeah,
Like, it
no,
just
for
doesn't
sure.
matter, and
Sometimes things are so little, but they feel so big.
yes, and, like, we us combined, we're so busy with life, and we get disconnected, and no hard feelings towards that because that's just life, but 2020
Right. We're
kinda gave
adults now,
us
yeah.
yeah, 2020 kinda gave us um, the window to
Mhm.
reconnect and really, like, be our best selves together, and I
Yeah,
love
no, I
that.
totally agree. I
Yeah,
totally agree because I feel like without as shitty as it has been, without 2020, like, in any normal year since, like, I'm doing my own thing in my career path and you're doing your own thing in your career path, like, I
yeah,
feel like for adults, it's so hard to maintain friendships like that, and I think 2020 has been really good to the 2 of us for,
yeah,
like, helping us keep connected because,
yeah,
unfortunately, we're not working as much, but it gives us
yeah.
the time to, keep the relationship going.
Yes, absolutely, and, I have a lot of well, yeah, I have a few exciting projects, another goal for mine, which was actually a big, just life goal in general for me, that I didn't think would come as soon as it did, is becoming my own business owner.
Yes, I'm so
So
excited for you.
thank you.
If you're comfortable, would you like to share a little bit about it?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, I am opening a business, for aesthetics, which is skincare, waxing, any specialty treatments, for your skin. So I'm very, very excited. I'm partnering up with, my beautiful, beautiful esthetician friend, and I'm really, really excited. So yeah, so that's that.
That
I
is so
think
awesome.
yeah, and I think it's also 2020 has also given me um a chance to really nurture myself for goals, that it's okay to make short-term goals and smaller goals because at the end of the day, goals are goals, and if you accomplish something, you're gonna feel amazing.
For
Um,
sure.
so so yeah.
No, I think I agree with that because I think one of my issues, and this is gonna sound really like narcissistic, but I don't have better words to say. One of my like it's a good trait to have, but it's also like a bad trait if I treat myself the wrong way. But I'm
Okay.
like really ambitious and I get so let down by myself
Mm.
when I don't accomplish the big goals, you know?
Y'all,
Um
let me just intersect real quick. She is not joking. This woman, if she did not have an A on every single possible thing, she would be like, "I got an A minus." I wanted to slap her. I wanted to slap her, like,
Yeah.
no, but
I
it's
push myself really hard to
yeah,
be, like, one of the best, and that like, it's a good thing to have, but at the same time, if you're not treating yourself right, it can be really nasty.
yeah,
But,
it can be detrimental sometimes.
I think I also learned, Rose, what you said, the same thing this year that, like, accomplishing small goals is, like, not something to ignore, like, you should be celebrating anything that you get done that's, that you think is worth it. I've been
Yes.
taking a lot of things one step at a time this year, originally not because I wanted to, but because I had to, but then I started seeing like, okay, this actually might be a better system, and I feel better about myself when I celebrate the small things.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree completely, and it's just, like, it's important right now because when you're limited to what you can do, you or can or want to do, you gotta
Right,
focus on what you can absolutely do, and that's
right.
okay if that's
And
just getting out of bed,
right, and
Like,
that's on setting like realistic expectations right there.
yes, absolutely, absolutely, like, I have definitely learned to, um, give myself some slack, and it's okay to give yourself some slack.
Right. I think like living in the US, it's really, really hard because from like a very, very young age, like kindergarten, even preschool, like you're taught that if you're not being productive, then you're not worth anything. And it's so damaging that we're taught that at such a young age. Like it's damaging that you're taught that to begin with. Like if you're not productive, you're not worth it. Um,
Yeah,
and this year, a lot of people are feeling worthless because they can't work or because they're not able to do the things. Like, I know so many people who are disappointed in themselves because they were like, okay, I have more time. I'm going to pick up a hobby. And maybe the hobby didn't turn out the way that they wanted to. And they're so disappointed. They're like, wow, I have all this time and I can't even learn how to knit or whatever.
yeah, yeah. I I can relate to that. I have started about 20 projects.
Me too.
Just
Same here.
just alone in, quarantine. So, I totally understand that, but I definitely, you know, as long as you're making goals, if I get 2 of those projects done, I'm good. I'm good. That's all I need? It's just
Definitely.
you gotta take everything
One
how you
step at a time.
yes, yes, absolutely,
One step at a time.
absolutely.
And, you know, it's it's definitely, like I feel like we're kinda talking in circles, but, like,
Yeah.
it's not you cannot emphasize enough how important it is to set realistic goals for yourself. You have to learn what your strengths are and what like you need supports in, and it's okay to ask other people to help you.
Yes, yes,
Not
absolutely.
every time you start something new, you can do it like you can't always do it on your own. Sometimes you need a little bit of help.
Yes, yes, I
And
agree.
I've been seeing a lot of like toxic, not intentionally toxic, but toxic stuff on social media about how like um what have you been doing during quarantine? Oh, you
Yes.
didn't get this done? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like I've just been surviving.
Yes, and that's what matters, one teacher said to me, I was having a really, really rough day, and we were doing a one-on-one, class, and she I was in the middle of a test, and she stopped me, and she threw my test away. She got up, and she was like, "Get up here." And I was like, "Oh gosh." She was like, "I don't know what's going on with you, but I need you to make a list." And I was like, "Okay." I'm like, "What do you mean?" So she had me make a list, a little chart. One side at the top, I wrote what I can control. On the other side, I wrote what I can't control. Wrote it all out. And then she made me go through every single bullet point I had on both lists, and just to really, really make sure what was actually in my control. And a lot of them ended up going into the other pile. So she said, "Okay, so you see how your list went from 6 to 2?" And I was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah." And she was like, "Okay, so those 2 things right in front of you, you focus on because you can control it and you can handle that. And then you can deal with whatever else you need to. And if you can't deal with those things because you can't control them, then you don't need to worry about it." So that was one of like the most influential things I've heard and I use to this day. Because it's just important to check in with yourself, and also just to, be present and do what you can do, and don't overexert yourself for anything else?
sure, for sure. That's an awesome method for, like, grounding yourself when you get, like, too overwhelmed because as you know, Rose, I have pretty bad, like, anxiety and,
Me as
I might
well.
have to, like I might have to actually steal that and use that sometime.
Yes, no, do it, I highly recommend.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good strategy on, like, coming back from, like, panic or, like, just general like, not even if you like, you could not have anxiety, and if you're
You
just
can
getting
just do that on a
overwhelmed or
regular
upset
day.
right,
Like, you can just
exactly.
wake up in the morning feeling off and be like, "Okay, I should make a list," and, like, I have done that.
For
So
sure.
it's really important to take care of yourself and to take care of your mental well-being, and I truly, truly mean it, to really check in with yourself. I've definitely had some times where like I was doing really bad, and I knew it, but I wouldn't acknowledge it. But as soon as I acknowledged it, that's when I was like, okay, I can take control of this situation and I can do X, Y, and Z to get myself back on my feet? You really just have to take the time to do that for yourself, because I promise
Right.
it's worth it. Even if
Mhm.
you feel ridiculous doing it for the first time, or if you feel like, "Oh, I'm just being over dramatic." Like, no, just do it. Just why not?
Right,
Life
take a
is
step back and
Yes, life is
breathe for a
too
second.
short. Life is too short to be walking around miserable when you know that you can find that peace within yourself?
Right. And this
Yeah.
even goes for, like it's easy to say these things when you're in, like, a generally, like, okay situation, but it's also really important when you're in a situation that you can't control overall to still focus on those small things that you can control, like,
Yeah.
um if you can control it, like, what music are you listening to? What's gonna influence your
Mhm.
mood and make you feel better? Like, little small things.
Yeah. What can I do today that'll make me feel accomplished? Like, what can I do? Um, who can I reach out to make their day better today? Like, there's just like, there's little things like that where I'm like, you know what? If I do that, at least if I'm not feeling as good today, I'll make someone else feel better. Or if I'm not feeling as good today, like, I can make a positive out of it,
Sure.
you
And I
know?
think, it's really important that, like, as much as you wanna do self-reflection and how majorly important it is to do that, if you like, in 2020, we're being isolated for health reasons, but you can also isolate yourself because you're just feeling down. You have to kind of pop that bubble because, you know, we're human beings and we have to, like, in order to feel mentally well, you need to communicate with other people and feel like you have some sort of connection with others. So, um, it's important as much as you want to, like, self check in, you have to check in with others and they might be able to provide some insight for you that you didn't even think about too.
Yes, I agree completely. Like, I cannot tell you how many of my friends I've reached out to just to be like, am I over exaggerating with this? Or like, does this make sense? Like, like just to like check in. Like if I felt like, okay, I'm really overwhelmed right now. I really need to talk to Casey or one of my friends just to be like, yeah, like that makes sense. Or no, I think you're seeing it a little wrong. Like sometimes you just need another point of view. And that's something I remind myself all the time because I constantly really like try to put myself in other people's position, because you never know, like, what anyone's going through, you know?
And
Um
you don't know other people's perspectives on the situations because
yeah.
sometimes you can get into, like, some sort of, like, downward spiral where you cannot see past your own personal opinions on something, like, um,
Yes, yes.
for example, so I mentioned in the last episode that I'm going to school for education. Um, I'm getting up there. I'm currently student teaching, or well, we're on a semester break, but I was student teaching last semester and I worked so hard on this one lesson plan that I provided for my kids, and it did not turn out the way I wanted it to. And
Mhm,
I was just in a funk, like, the whole rest of the day, like, I was putting on a face, I was like, "Wow, that was, like, one of my very first, like, completely solo lessons that lasted for, like, almost an hour,"
mhm.
when I was just, like, fully in control there, and
Yeah,
it didn't work, and I was, like, so upset about it, and I sat down and I talked with my mentor about it, and she was like I was telling her, I was like, "I know that was, like, not great, and, like, I would really love your input on what I could do better next time." And my mentor was like, "What are you talking about? Like, the kids
mhm,
loved it. I thought
mhm.
it was awesome. Like, I think I'm gonna use that next year." And I was like, "You thought it was good?" Like, sometimes you can't see past your own negative thoughts, and sometimes
Yeah,
you just need
yeah.
other people's input and perspective to
Yeah,
to bring
yeah.
up your mood a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like that's also, like, that kinda, like, strives from, like, insecurity and stuff like that because you have like, they always say, like, your biggest flaw, like, no one else will notice. Like, even if you think it's the biggest flaw, like, some half the time, like, a lot of people don't even notice it, you know?
Right, exactly.
And not even flaw, I guess you could say insecurity, that
Yeah,
flaw is
no,
the
for
wrong
sure.
word, um, but so in that sense, like that's all you're thinking about is, "Oh my gosh, like that happened." But when in reality, like no one else noticed it and saw all the other amazing things, but you were so hyper focused on the thing that you didn't like that you couldn't see how great overall it was, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
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 So I think we talked about a lot of good things.
Yes, I agree.
Honestly, that's the end of our outline. But before we end this episode, I do want to like make more of like a concrete way for like listeners if they're struggling with some of the things that we talked about. And like, um, before I even get to that, I just had a second thought that popped into my head.
Mhm.
Um, it is okay to still feel negative, like, I feel like too many people are like, "Well, I listened to that inspirational person," or I read a wellness book, why don't I still feel good?" Like, it is okay to still not feel good. You might be in a rut for a little while, but you just have to know that it will end at some point.
Yes, I agree completely. It's okay to not be okay. I
Mhm.
always say that. It's okay to not be okay, but just remind yourself, okay, I'm going to let myself drown in this for a minute, but make sure you always pick yourself back up. That's my biggest
Exactly.
thing. You can cry, you can scream, you can do whatever you want, but just make sure that at the end of the day you pick yourself back up because you're worth it. You're worth having that
Mm, for
positivity.
sure.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that little last thought in there because it popped into my mind while I was saying something else.
Yes, I
Um
agree.
So before we end this episode, Rose, I just wanted to like put together for maybe someone who is listening to this and they're not entirely sure where to start. Like,
Mhm.
I know you mentioned how your teacher showed you how to do the list thing, but I just wanted to put together like maybe a couple of options of things that like someone could try out to help like ground themselves and make themselves feel better. And I'll start. So something. that I do to make myself feel better about accomplishing goals or getting things done is I take sticky notes and I write down every single individual piece of the process and I put them on my wall. And at the start of whatever I'm doing, there are a ton of sticky notes on the wall, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. But you just start with step one, you look at it, you get that done, you take the sticky note off the wall, and that's a little bit less tension that you have to, like, hold in your shoulders. So I think, like, creating, like, a visual to help guide you with whatever you're feeling, like, if you feel like it's too big, is definitely a really good tool that you can use that will make you feel better about the situation that you're in, and that's one of the
Yes,
things that I do often.
I agree completely. I am also one to do the visual. Something I always do is I got these Crayola window paint, like window markers. So you can always write on your mirrors like what you have to do or what you want to accomplish today. Or like you said, very similar. Another thing I always tend to do because I'm a mover and a shaker. I always want to be doing something, and right now that's not always optimal. Because there's not a ton to do, especially now where we are is now snowing. So even more limited than before. So something I like to do is just to really indulge in the things I love to do, the things that are fun for me to do, whether it's playing a video game or if it's baking some cookies or if it's hanging out with my mom, taking my dog for a walk, like anything that I genuinely really enjoy just to get it somewhere in my day, at least once. Just because even if I'm having a bad day, at least I can say I had a lot of fun playing that game, or I really, really enjoyed those cookies. They turned out bomb. Like, there's just a ton of different things like that that,
I was actually gonna say the
are
same
big.
thing.
Yeah.
If you're already feeling down, don't punish yourself by like withholding the things that you enjoy and say, "Well, I can't read a book tonight because I didn't get everything done." That's just gonna make you feel worse. You
Mhm.
need to build in some time for yourself to like decompress and it's hard, it's easy to just say the words like just ignore it. It's hard to ignore it, and you can still think about it, like, in the back of your mind, but like Rose has said in this episode and last episode, it's important to be present, and you should like, even if you didn't get anything done, or you think you didn't get anything done, you should still reward yourself, like, at the end of the night, like, put yourself in a better mood before you go to bed. Watch that shitty, like, reality TV show with your roommates before bed and, like, have a
Yes,
laugh, you
yes,
know?
yes. It's so important. And just show yourself some love. Just do it. Even if it's doing a face mask or yeah, like you said, like anything, literally anything you enjoy, just do it, you know?
For sure.
It'll make it better, I promise.
Yeah, and so I think, it would be really cool if you guys like, if anyone's listening to this on YouTube, which is where it will be uploaded to, you should put in the comments, like, 1 or 2 things that you do that really gets you out of whatever bad mood that you were in before, or something that you think would help other people out, just to get a little bit of a sense of community here. Like, we want to make this a positive space, and I think using the comment section for this is like a really nice opportunity to do that and build community.
Yes, absolutely, and we will absolutely be replying,
Oh, for
um,
sure.
and I've said this before and I'll say it again, if you would like to personally reach out to us, you can reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram. We will have all the links in the bio.
Like, yeah,
Um,
so, like, what Rose said about reaching out to us, like, personally, Rose manages the Twitter, so if you have a question for Rose, you can, talk to her via DM on Twitter, and I manage the Instagram, so if you have a question for me or wanna talk to me, you can always reach out through the Instagram, and we both monitor the YouTube, so
yep, yep.
yeah. I think that
Yeah.
was a really nice productive talk. I feel better after talking about that because
Yes, I really
everything
that was a
stacked up.
lot. Very, very nice, very nice, yeah. I enjoyed
Yeah.
that a lot.
So, I'm hoping that you guys, whoever's listening, is enjoying the podcast. I think we're having a lot of fun making it, and our next episode will be out in February, February 6th.
Ooh.
So, subscribe to our channel so you can get a notification for when that comes out, and hopefully, you enjoy it. Next episode, we're going to be talking about love languages and romance, just something that's a little bit more lighthearted than this because not that it wasn't, but something that's a little bit more fluffy and less heavy.
Yes, and it's
Um
the month of love.
yeah. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this little talk and I hope you guys enjoy the next episode.
Yes,
Until
and
next
we
time.
will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.